Okay, so you turn on your tap, right? Crystal clear water just flows out. Then the bill arrives, and you probably sigh. Maybe even, question the numbers a bit. But how often do we actually stop and think about the whole intricate, invisible system that brings that water to you and what that bill really represents? Today, we're diving deep into exactly that connection, your water meter and your water bill. It's way more than just a charge. It's like the tip of this huge iceberg of infrastructure and, well, human effort.
That's so true. I mean, the water meter at your home, it isn't just some measurement device. It's really the vital link between your own use and the entire city or municipal water network. Every single drop that's accounted for on that bill, it reflects the pretty considerable costs of sourcing the water, treating it, pumping it, delivering it right to your curb. It's essentially the price of maintaining that hidden complex system that, keeps everything flowing smoothly.
Exactly. And in this deep dive today, we're going to try and uncover why meters are so fundamental, what really goes into calculating your bill, how the system responds when things go wrong, and the vast human network that supports every single drop you use. So yeah, get ready for maybe some aha moments about a utility we often take entirely for granted. Okay, let's start with that little device outside your home, the water meter. Its basic job, sure, it's measuring flow, but its real significance, it lies in enabling fair and efficient water management for everyone. Think about it. Without meters, utilities would probably just use flat fees, right? Which would lead to, well, immense waste and, frankly, unfairness. Imagine a big family paying the exact same as someone living alone. Meters make sure you pay for what you actually use. That encourages conservation, while also funding the huge infrastructure behind it, all the treatment plants, the pumping stations, all those miles and miles of pipes.
That's absolutely right. Your meter, it registers usage, usually in gallons or maybe cubic feet. Then the utilities read that often electronically these days, which is much faster. And your bill, it isn't just one simple number. It usually combines a fixed base fee with a variable usage charge. That base fee is really crucial. It covers the essential, sort of non-negotiable costs of just keeping the infrastructure running, those pipes, reservoirs, treatment plants. That cost exists whether you use a lot of water or very little. The usage charge, well, obviously that scales with how much you consume.
Right, and the way those usage charges are structured, that can vary quite a bit too, can it?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of utilities use what's called a uniform rate. Simple enough, every gallon costs the same. But what's becoming more common are tiered or increasing block rates. These are really designed to encourage conservation. So the more water you use beyond a certain point, the higher the price per gallon gets. It nudges people towards using water more responsibly. Then, less common, but you still see them, are decreasing block rates, maybe for like big industrial users, factories, farms.
Right, bulk users.
Yeah, or even seasonal rates where water costs more during peak demand times, like, hot, dry summers when everyone's watering their lawns.
And, what often gets overlooked is what you might call the frustration factor around water bills. It's interesting. Unlike, say, electricity or your internet bill, a lot of people instinctively feel water should be cheap, maybe even free, right? Because it feels so abundant, it falls from the sky.
Yeah.
But your bill actually reflects these substantial, often totally invisible costs. We're talking about the significant expense of chemicals, skilled operators for treatment, the huge infrastructure investment in just maintaining pipes and pumps, and the considerable energy needed to move water, often uphill, across really vast distances. So when you pay that bill, you're not just paying for the water molecules. You're paying for the entire hidden system that makes sure clean, safe water is always right there at your tap. That little dial on the meter, it's not just counting drops, it's really tallying up your share of this massive shared communal service.
It really does reframe how you look at that bill, doesn't it, when you think about it that way? And speaking of that communal service, let's talk about the sheer number of people involved in keeping it all running. I mean, for most of us, right? As residents or maybe business owners, our interaction with the water utility is pretty straightforward. You pay the bill, maybe call if something goes wrong. We usually don't even think about water until there is a problem, like a leak, or maybe that unexpectedly high bill shows up. So when you do call, your first point of contact is typically with the customer service team. They're really the front line. They handle everything from, hey, why is my bill so high this month, to my water looks kind of cloudy, or, the basics like I need to start or stop my service. A customer service rep, or CSR, they need to be good at resolving the simple stuff quickly, but also at accurately figuring out, okay, this is more serious, like a suspected main break, and routing that to the right technical teams. And often doing that while calming down a frustrated customer. That's a skill in itself.
Absolutely. And then behind those CSRs, you've got the finance team. They're like the utilities' fiscal backbone. They manage the entire flow of money, generating the bills, tracking all the payments, approving refunds or adjustments, and managing those complex rate structures we just talked about. If there's some kind of billing dispute, they work really closely with customer service to, say, validate a meter read or authorize corrections. Basically, they make sure the money coming in actually supports the cost of running everything.
Okay, so CSRs and finance. Then you've got the boots on the ground, right? The dispatch and field operations teams.
Yeah, exactly.
These are the crews you see out in the trucks, the ones actually going out to inspect, repair, and maintain the system. They respond to emergencies like main breaks. They perform meter checks if there's a question, investigate water quality issues, maybe by flushing hydrants, and they handle the physical service turn-ons and turn-offs too.
And dispatch is the nerve center there. They coordinate all those field crews, often in real time, based on the calls coming into customer service and also working with finance on things like shutoffs.
That coordination sounds critical.
Oh, it's essential. Just imagine a customer calls about a super high bill, right? Customer service logs it, takes the details. Finance checks the reading history, sees if it looks odd. Then dispatch sends a field crew out to physically inspect the meter, maybe look around the property for an obvious leak. It's this seamless coordination between different departments that keeps the whole system functioning day to day. And, beyond these core teams, you've also got engineers planning long-term projects, treatment plant operators constantly monitoring water quality, communications teams issuing boil water advisories. It's a huge operation. The water utility isn't just pipes and pumps. It's really a vast human network, sustained by everyone from, the operators and accountants to the voices answering the phone.
That invisible coordination is really quite something when you lay it out. And so much of that daily operation, from a simple customer call to a major pipe repair, seems to be driven by something called a work order. What exactly is that?
Yeah, the work order is key. Think of it as like the official digital record or blueprint for any job within the utility system. A work order tracks everything. Who is assigned, which crew, what specific task needs doing, repair, inspect, install, where it's located, when it's scheduled or completed, and even how much it costs, breaking down labor, materials used, maybe contractor invoices. They're really vital documents, often including photos, notes, all sorts of details.
Okay, so it's the official record. Are there different kinds?
Definitely. Work orders generally fall into a few main categories. Some are customer-driven, like you said, generated from a call about a leak or low pressure or a meter problem. Then you have routine or preventive maintenance work orders. These are for scheduled tasks, things like flushing hydrants periodically, exercising valves to make sure they work, inspecting pump stations, stuff designed to keep the system healthy and prevent failures before they happen.
Proactive stuff.
Exactly. Then there are corrective or repair work orders. These are usually for emergencies or unexpected failures. A burst water main, a pump motor suddenly dying. Reactive, but critical. And finally, you have capital or project work orders. These are tied to bigger, long-term initiatives, like replacing a whole section of old pipe. These can span months, even years, and involve multiple steps.
Got it. And these work orders, they sound like they act as the connective tissue between all those departments we just talked about.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. Customer service often initiates them based on a call. Dispatch then assigns them to the right field crews and tracks their progress. Are they on site? Is it done? Operations, the field crews, they execute the work and log all the completion details, what parts they used, how long it took. Finance links, all the costs, labor hours, materials pulled from inventory, maybe vendor invoices back to that specific job. And really importantly, asset management uses the historical data from all these work orders over time to track the performance of every single piece of infrastructure.
So they can see patterns.
Precisely. They can identify which specific pumps seem to fail more often, or which sections of pipe are prone to breaks. That data is gold. The insight here is that work orders are so much more than just digital paperwork. They are the utility's memory and its future planning tool. They track all those details, crew assignments, hours, parts, specific asset IDs, like for a hydrant or a meter. Without them, utility operations would just be chaotic. It'd be guesswork. They provide traceability, accountability, which is vital for regulators and the public, and they let the utility learn. If, say, a particular pump has needed 15 repairs in 2 years, that work order history screams, "Replace me." It prevents wasting money on constant fixes. Honestly, every drop of water that reaches you is supported by this invisible trail of work orders, documenting the hands, the hours, and the dollars it took to keep the system flowing.
that invisible paper trail or digital trail now, I guess. It underpins everything, right down to some of the most difficult interactions, like what happens when a bill doesn't get paid.
Right, that's a tough one.
Fundamentally, I mean, paying your water bill isn't just, buying a product. It's your contribution to sustaining this entire network we've been talking about. The treatment, the pipes, the emergency crews, the staff. When you pay, you're helping keep the system running for everyone.
And when a bill goes unpaid for a while, the billing system automatically flags that account. The utility will typically send out late notices, offer grace periods, and many, probably most, have payment plans or financial assistance programs they can offer if someone's struggling. They usually want to avoid shutting water off if possible.
But if it remains unpaid,
If it's still outstanding after those steps, the system eventually escalates. It automatically generates a specific type of service order, a work order, to disconnect the water service. That work order gets routed through dispatch to a field crew for the physical shutoff at the property.
okay, so those shut-off work orders are automatically triggered by the non-payment flag in the system. And they tell the field staff exactly where to go, which account, what to do.
Yes. They specify the address, account number, sometimes meter location details, and the task is clearly shut off water. Field staff follow that WO, perform the task, lock the meter maybe, and then record it back in the system as completed.
Now, what if you, the customer, call customer service after the shutoff has happened, or maybe right before it's scheduled?
Good question. So the CSR pulls up your account and immediately sees the payment history, any pending shutoff work orders, or if one's already been completed. If you then arrange payment, maybe pay the balance, set up a payment plan the finance team usually has to approve that resolution. Once that's done, customer service can either cancel a pending shutoff order, or if the water's already off, they create a new work order for a turn water back on. So from your perspective, the customer, it feels pretty linear. I didn't pay, they turned it off. I called, I paid, they turned it back on. Simple.
Yep.
But behind the scenes, it's actually this carefully orchestrated sequence involving the billing system, the work order system, asset management maybe, dispatch, finance, customer service, and the field crew. Multiple systems and people coordinating. And this whole process, it really highlights that tension we mentioned earlier, water as a fundamental human right versus water as a managed, paid-for service. The meter itself doesn't judge, it just counts usage. When the payment doesn't follow, the system responds methodically with work orders and potentially shutoffs. But, importantly, behind every call and every transaction, there are still people who can help navigate the process and hopefully turn that disconnection back into connection.
It's fascinating how many layers are involved, even in something that seems as straightforward as a shutoff or turn on. Okay, but what happens on the meter itself? You called it the truth teller earlier. What if it fails? What if it malfunctions?
Right. The truth teller isn't infallible. Meters can fail in a few ways. You've got simple mechanical wear and tear, especially in older meters. They might start to slow down over time and actually under-register usage, so you end up paying less than you used.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Or they can get stuck or frozen, particularly in colder climates. That can lead to cracks or seizing up completely. And with the more modern smart meters, you can have electronic failures. Maybe the transmitter stops sending data, or the battery dies, or there are signal issues. And sometimes it's not even the meter itself, but a small leak right at the fittings where it connects to your pipes. Still causes problems, but it's not the meter's fault, technically.
So how does the utility even know when a meter is failing? Can they detect that automatically?
Well, that's where the type of meter really matters. The insight here is how detection has evolved. With the old school manually read meters, it's much harder to catch proactively. Problems often only surface when a customer calls about a really weird bill super high or suddenly zero, or maybe the meter reader physically notices something odd like condensation inside or the dial not moving. In those cases, the utility might have to just estimate your usage based on past history until they can investigate and fix or replace the meter.
Okay, so manual reads are more reactive. What about newer tech?
Right. So the next step up was AMR, or automatic meter reading. That's where meters send data, usually via radio, that gets picked up by a truck driving by. With AMR, the system can start to flag things like if there are gaps in the data transmission or if there are sudden unexplained jumps or drops in the readings as compared to the last read. It's better, but still relies on periodic drive-bys.
And the latest is AMI, smart meters.
Exactly. AMI, or advanced metering infrastructure, that's the smart meter tech. These meters typically send data automatically, sometimes multiple times a day, directly back to the utility over a fixed network. No drive-bys needed. This is a huge leap because sophisticated software can constantly monitor that incoming data stream and flag anomalies almost in real time. Things like zero usage reported for days in a home that's known to be occupied. Or, conversely, constant uninterrupted flow 247, which strongly suggests a leak somewhere on the property.
Ah, like a running toilet you didn't notice.
Precisely. Or sudden spikes or drops that just don't match the customer's historical patterns. The system can generate alerts for these things, often prompting customer service to investigate before the customer even gets a high bill or notices a problem themselves.
That proactive capability sounds like a massive game changer for both the utility and the customer.
It really is.
So if a problem is suspected, either through an alert or a customer call, how do utilities actually confirm it's the meter?
They have established protocols. Often they'll use specialized meter testing benches back at their facility. They can hook up a meter and run controlled amounts of water through it to check its accuracy against certified standards. They also do on-site inspections. A field tech might go out, maybe swap the suspected faulty meter with a new one, and bring the old one back for that bench testing. And the finance team can play a role too by conducting billing audits. They might look for statistical anomalies across customer classes like, why is this large grocery store suddenly using less water than a small residential house? That could flag a potential meter issue.
Okay. And what happens if a meter is confirmed to be broken? How does that affect billing?
Usually, if a meter is found to be faulty, the utility will estimate the customer's bills for the period the meter was inaccurate. This estimation is typically based on their historical usage patterns from before the problem started. Then, once a new working meter is installed and maybe a period of accurate usage is established, they'll reconcile the account. Customers might receive a credit if the old meter was over-registering, or potentially a back bill if it was under-registering, though policies vary. And often, a meter failure becomes the trigger or opportunity for the utility to upgrade that customer to newer AMI technology if they haven't already. So yeah, while the water meter is designed to be that reliable truth teller for the system, even truth tellers can falter sometimes. When that happens, the physical flow of water keeps going, of course, but the system then has to rely on data patterns, historical context, and ultimately human oversight to ensure fairness and accuracy are restored. This whole discussion really brings us to a fundamental point. The complex bond or maybe tension between customers, the water itself, and the utility providing it. Well, think about it. Most customers, deep down, view water as a basic human right. It falls from the sky, it feels like it should be free, or at least very cheap. That's a natural feeling. Yet the utility has to treat it as a managed service, almost like a commodity, because of those huge, real costs we talked about. Treatment, infrastructure maintenance, delivery energy. And that fundamental difference in perspective often creates friction. Bills, no matter how carefully calculated and justified by costs, can feel inherently unfair when measured against that perception of water as just, abundant, and natural.
Yeah, I can see that. And that friction, it must be made worse by the fact that the system is mostly invisible, right?
Exactly. Most customers never see a treatment plant. They don't understand the complex purification process or the miles of pipe underground. They simply they have to trust that the water coming from their tap is safe to drink, to bathe in.
And that trust, it's fragile. It can be profoundly shaken by major incidents, like the lead crisis in Flint, Michigan, which got huge national attention, or even by more localized things like temporary boil water advisories after a main break.
Absolutely. So utilities have this constant balancing act. They need deep technical expertise to actually run the system safely, but they also need really clear, consistent, and frankly, reassuring public communication to maintain that essential public trust. It's a tightrope walk.
It's interesting, too, you mentioned the frustration factor with bills earlier. How does the value perception play into this?
Well, what's fascinating is that in most places, water bills are actually significantly cheaper than, say, your monthly electricity bill or your internet and phone package, often much cheaper.
That's usually true, yeah.
Yet people frequently complain more vocally about their water bill, and it often comes back to that feeling that water should be cheap or free. Utilities really struggle sometimes to effectively communicate the immense hidden value they provide for that relatively modest cost, the 247 treatment operations, the hundreds or thousands of miles of pipes being maintained, the emergency crews ready to roll at 3 a.m., the constant testing and adherence to really strict regulations. That perception gap between cost and perceived value is a constant challenge.
And that gap becomes even more critical when you think about equity and affordability, doesn't it?
Definitely. Because even if a water bill is objectively low compared to other utilities, it can still be a substantial burden for low-income households, for seniors on fixed incomes, for families struggling financially. And water shutoffs, when they do happen, disproportionately impact these vulnerable communities, which has serious public health implications too.
So what are utilities doing about that?
Well, many utilities recognize this and are trying to address it. They might offer tiered rates where the essential amount of water is cheaper, hardship programs, payment assistance plans, partnerships with social service agencies, or sometimes implementing moratoriums on shutoffs during public health crises, like we saw widely during the COVID-19 pandemic or during extreme weather events. It's an ongoing area of focus and, frankly, debate.
Now, here's something that often catches homeowners completely by surprise, right? That critical line of responsibility at the curb.
Ah, yes. Here's where it often gets really interesting and sometimes very tense. Most customers simply don't realize this until there's a problem. The general rule is the utility maintains the water main, that big pipe usually running under the street. But you, the homeowner, are typically responsible for your water service lateral, that's the smaller pipe running from the main under your yard into your house.
And the same for the sewer line going out?
Usually, yes. You own and are responsible for the sewer lateral from your house out to the main sewer line. And this often becomes a very, very expensive lesson when a homeowner suddenly faces a, $5,000, $10,000, even $20,000 plus bill to dig up their yard and replace a collapsed or broken lateral pipe. The utility won't cover that.
Wow. That division of responsibility is a huge potential financial hit and a major source of confusion and tension, I bet.
Immense tension, yes.
Such a key distinction.
Mhm.
And this entire relationship, customer, water, utility, responsibility, it's all shaped by pretty significant regulation too, isn't it?
Absolutely. Water utilities are heavily regulated. They have to comply with stringent federal and state laws, most notably the Safe Drinking Water Act in the U.S., which sets standards for water quality and requires regular testing and reporting. There are also consumer protection laws. For example, utilities are typically required to issue annual consumer confidence reports, sometimes called water quality reports. These tell customers where their water comes from, what contaminants were tested for, and what the results were. It mandates a certain level of transparency. So your water bill, in a way, isn't just a bill for service. It represents a regulated social contract between you and the provider.
And technology, you mentioned smart meters. Is that changing this relationship too?
Oh, profoundly, yes. Smart meters and the customer portals or apps that often come with them are providing unprecedented levels of data directly to the consumer. You can often see your usage hour by hour, get alerts for potential leaks much faster. Some platforms let you track your water, use almost like a fitness tracker, monitors your steps. It empowers customers in a new way.
More interactive.
Exactly. Automated payments, online service requests, even chatbots for simple questions. They're all changing how we interact with the utility. The relationship is definitely shifting from being mostly reactive calling when there's a problem to potentially much more interactive, informed, and maybe even collaborative. And all this just highlights the unique nature of water utilities, doesn't it? You can shop around for your internet provider, your cell phone plan. But for water, you typically have one provider. There's no choice. That's true. So our relationship with these companies isn't built on market choice. It's built on, well, trust, regulation, those monthly bills, and ultimately the quiet, constant promise that when you turn on the tap, clean, safe water will always flow. It's maybe the most intimate service we receive, yet often the most invisible.
That point about trust and the unique, almost captive nature of the relationship leads right into thinking about your vital role as a homeowner in all this. We've established where the utility's responsibility generally ends at the main in the street. But let's just reiterate that clearly. Usually, you own those lateral pipes, both for the water coming in and the sewer going out, that run from the street under your property into your house.
That's the standard setup, yes. Meter ownership itself can sometimes vary by city. Sometimes the city owns it, sometimes the homeowner does, but the pipes connecting to it on your property, almost always yours.
And knowing that, simple things like your landscaping suddenly seem more important, don't they?
Immensely important, yes. Tree roots, for instance, are notorious for seeking out water sources. They can invade and crack those buried lateral pipes over time, leading to slow leaks you don't see, or sudden, messy blockages. Even driving heavy equipment, like during a construction project, over where those lines are buried can crush older pipes. And if you have an irrigation system for your lawn or a swimming pool, ensuring you have proper backflow prevention devices installed is absolutely crucial. That stops potentially contaminated water from your system getting sucked back into the public water supply if there's a pressure change. It protects everyone.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the single most important tip then?
Oh, easy. Always, always call 811, the call before you dig number, before you start any excavation project on your property.
Yeah.
Seriously, even if you're just planting a small tree or putting in a new mailbox post.
Really? Even for small stuff?
Absolutely. You often have no idea exactly where those utility lines, water, sewer, gas, electric cable, are buried. Hitting one by accident is not only dangerous, it can be incredibly expensive to repair, and you'll likely be held responsible. Just make the free call to 811 a few days beforehand. They'll come out and mark the approximate location of buried lines. It's essential.
Okay, 8011. Got it. And if you do accidentally break something on your property, say that water lateral.
Well, unfortunately, you, the homeowner, are almost always responsible for arranging and paying for those repairs. And as we said, that can easily run into the thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the complexity, the depth, where it is under your yard.
Ouch. What if you damage the city's main out in the street?
If you or your contractor damages city property, like the water main itself, the utility will handle the repair, but they will almost certainly bill you or, more likely, your contractor's insurance company for the costs. They'll pursue reimbursement.
And here's that surprising fact again. Standard homeowners insurance often doesn't cover your own water or sewer lateral failures, right?
Correct. It's a common and costly misunderstanding. Basic homeowners policies usually exclude damage to service lines outside the foundation of your house unless you've specifically purchased an endorsement or rider for service line coverage. Many people don't realize this until it's too late. It's definitely something worth checking your policy for or asking your insurance agent about.
Good advice. So beyond avoiding breaks, what are some other everyday homeowner responsibilities related to the water system?
Well, a big one is preventing blockages in your sewer lateral. That means being really mindful about what goes down the drain or gets flushed. No wipes, even the flushable ones often aren't. No grease, no feminine hygiene products, no paper towels, no trash. Those things build up and cause nasty, expensive backups into your own home. Protecting your water meter is another one. Don't bury it under mulch or landscaping. Don't pave over it. Make sure the utility crews can always access it easily for readings or maintenance. If you live in a cold climate, winterizing your pipes, both exposed exterior ones and pipes in unheated areas like crawl spaces or garages, is critical to prevent them from freezing and bursting. So, yeah, your yard might feel like it's just your personal space, but underneath it run these vital connections, these veins linking you to the entire city system. Caring for those connections properly means caring for both your own home and, in a way, the whole community that shares the flow.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what does this deep dive really mean for you, the listener? We've seen that your water bill is, it's way more than just a charge for a commodity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's the cost of this vast, complex, and frankly vital system of pipes and pumps and treatment plants and, importantly, people. Your meter is that silent bridge connecting your home to that whole network. And behind every single interaction, paying the bill, making a call, even just turning on the tap, there's this intricate web of systems and human effort working constantly, mostly unseen, to keep it all going.
Yeah, the relationship between us as consumers and our water utilities is truly unique. It's complex. It's shaped by our expectations of fairness, by real issues of affordability, by that critical need for trust and safety, and by all those often invisible costs of building and maintaining the infrastructure. We might only consciously see the meter at the curb and the bill in the mail, maybe hear a voice on the phone sometimes. But behind that simplicity lies this meticulously engineered system: treatment plants, pump stations, miles of pipes, constant testing, strict regulations, and all those dedicated individuals working around the clock to make sure clean, safe water is always there when we need it.
It really makes you think. It's not just the bill, it's kind of a promise kept, month after month, year after year. Which leads to a final thought. What else in your everyday life, something that seems perfectly simple on the surface, actually hides a similarly intricate world of hidden systems and human effort?
That's a great question to ponder. Because for the everyday consumer, water feels deeply personal, right? It's that meter at the curb, the bill arriving, maybe that voice on the phone if there's an issue. But beneath that tangible simplicity lies this profound system. Paying your bill truly does keep that system alive and functioning, protecting not just your own home's access, but the health and safety of the entire community. And owning your part of that water responsibility as a homeowner means recognizing not just what flows conveniently from your tap, but also appreciating the hidden work, the complex infrastructure, and the fundamental trust that make it all possible.